The Jacksonville Jaguars have franchise-tagged pass rusher Yannick Ngakoue, and they are drawing interest from multiple teams, according to Mike Garafolo of NFL Media. But the Jaguars are waiting for the right return. That prompted Ngakoue to go to Twitter and say, "Let's agree to disagree. Why hold a man from taking care of his family? It's obvious my time is up in my current situation. Let's both move on." At Jaguars with the checkered flag. Although the checkered flag's at the end. I guess he means it's the end of the relationship between the Jaguars and Ngakoue. Look, the bottom line is the Jaguars played this game last year, and they got 2 first-round picks and a 4th-round pick for Jalen Ramsey. Drag your feet, slow play it, wait, and ultimately you call the ball when the best offer comes in. Last year, Frank Clark netted a first-round pick and a second-round pick for the Seahawks when they traded him to the Chiefs. Dee Ford got a second-round pick for the Chiefs when they traded him to the 49ers. So I just think it's a matter of time before somebody recognizes we're going to make the play for Yannick Ngakoue. Maybe it happens after the draft. Maybe it's after the first round, sometime during the draft. But I feel like it's going to happen. And since there's no offseason program, there's no urgency here to do anything, Chris. I understand Yannick wants to know where he's going next. But, you know, I feel like the wheels are in motion for something to happen where the Jaguars do trade and move on from Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, when he's starting to, you know, he's drawn a line in the sand basically to say he doesn't want to get, you know, he doesn't want to be there. So I don't know how else that could work. You know, I know Doug Marrone. I read some of his quotes yesterday. I think he's still holding out an outside shot that there could be some resolution here to where they can keep a Yannick Ngakoue. But I would think ultimately there's a huge market for Yannick Ngakoue, and like the Jaguars are saying, that there's teams interested. Of course there are. You know, he's a commodity. He's a special commodity. He's a better pass rusher to this point of his career than Dee Ford has been, or DeMarcus Lawrence with the Dallas Cowboys. So you might not say he's as good a run defender as a DeMarcus Lawrence, but certainly a good pass rusher. And Mike, I think the other thing that's going to add, you know, value to Yannick Ngakoue here as far as the Jaguars trade is the draft, at least to where I'm at right now. It doesn't seem like it's real deep with, you know, those freaky defensive ends that we look at to go, oh, there's going to be 4 or 5 in the top 40 who could be, you know, sack machines. I don't think it's this type of draft class. So that's going to add value to people wanting to get their hands on Yannick Ngakoue as well.
Who do you think should be making the move, and what do you think is fair? Is it the 2nd-round pick for Ford, or is it a 1 and a 2 for Clark, or somewhere in between?
Yeah, somewhere in between. You know, I think that's pretty fair. I would say it was probably more than just a 2nd-round pick for Dee Ford. You know, Yannick Ngakoue doesn't have an injury history. Dee Ford had that. You know, so you had to have that little concern there either way. So, you know, maybe if it's a team late in the first round, maybe they can get a late first rounder. But I think ultimately it'll be a 2nd and some sort of and some change to go with it. Maybe a 2nd and a 3rd. You know, maybe a 2nd and a 3rd, and maybe some other late round pick in next year's draft, something like that. I would see it because, again, I think it's going to be hard to ask teams for a first rounder when a guy has clearly stated he doesn't want to play on that football team.
Yeah. And the 2nd rounder that brought Dee Ford to the 49ers was a 2020 2nd rounder, not a 2019. Clark was a 2020 2nd rounder, 2019 1st rounder that took him to the Chiefs. And look, I understand, again, why Yannick Ngakoue is going to agitate for a trade. And really, the less a team has to give up to get him in trade, the more money they may be able to pay him. It's a sliding scale. How much do we give up to get the guy by way of draft picks? How much do we pay him? There's a point where it's too much, so you got to start taking either dollars or draft picks off the pile to get it to a point where the balance is just right. So from his perspective, the less someone gives up, he may cash in even more. And I think he will cash in with somebody. And look, everybody needs pass rushers. Even
Definitely.
if you have one, you need more. You ideally want to have a rotation. The question is, do you have the money? Do you have the draft picks you're willing to part with? And do you have the money and the cap space to make it happen, Chris?
There is so many teams that need a pass rusher right now that I just would have a hard time. Yeah, and there's teams that, with that money, that also have that need. But, here, let me just name off some teams where you would go, oh, yeah, they could use that guy. I mean, first off, the Seattle Seahawks, he would fit that. He's played in that scheme. The Jaguars run the Seattle scheme. That makes sense. The Miami Dolphins, you could get into the Bengals, the Houston Texans. Do they have a legit pass rusher right now? The Jets, the Giants, They have nobody on their front that can come around the edge and be special that way. So the list goes on and on as far as just teams that could use a guy like Yannick Ngakoue coming off the edge. He's special that way. He's got a great first step. He's explosive. I mean, again, the Philadelphia Eagles, I could throw them in that mix there. There is a lot of teams with defensive end needs, difference makers coming off the edge.
I'd like to see them in silver and black. They're still kind of finding their way at pass
Sure,
rushers
the
since they traded
Raiders,
Khalil
yes.
Mack a couple years ago.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.